Hey guys, Pete from Leisure Time here, and today we are working on a hot tub in the shop. It is a 2015 Gleam. You can see the serial number and the manufacturing date there. You can also find the serial number on the tag right over here. It had a leak in it, and after looking around for a bit trying to find it, we located at least one of the leaks. We had a small drip coming from the 6-port manifold here just off of the diverter, and I marked the line that we need to take care of, and I'm going to show you guys how we can get that fixed. There's a couple of different ways we can go about fixing this one port on the manifold. One way is you can just replace the entire manifold, but that's a lot of gluing and replacing a part. Another way you do is you cut off the one line and then use that fitting saver to drill out the inside. You're basically boring out the inside of that plumbing fitting, and then you can re-glue that plumbing line back into there. I'm going to go about it a different way. Once we cut that line, then I can use a heat gun. It's called to sweat out the inside of that, and the remainder plumbing part that's left on the inside of this, you just warm it up really good so it's nice and soft, and then you can use like needle nose pliers to grab in there and pull that piece out, and then you can re-glue the plumbing part. The first thing we're going to do is I have drained down the tub low enough to where I don't have any water at this particular point. The next thing I'm going to do is cut that plumbing line out, and this is a plumbing cutter. You can pick up at any plumbing supply store, even Home Depot has it. Normally I would try to cut as close to the fitting as possible. On this particular one there was just a little bit of glue, and if I need to I can either put a coupler on there just like that, and then another piece of pipe, a new piece of pipe that will go into there. If I end up doing that, I'm actually going to end up cutting the pipe further back here so I have more room to work. I'm going to try the sweat out method with the heat gun first. So the tools that I'm getting ready for it, of course the heat gun, I got a pair of needle nose pliers and then a flat blade screwdriver, and I'll show you what I use this for. But first you want to get it nice and warm and softened up. The goal is to try and soften up the inner plumbing part and not so much the outer plumbing part. But with such a small plumbing fitting, sometimes that's hard to do. So I just periodically grab a hold of it. See, it's nice and soft there. Okay, so I've gotten that piece of plumbing in there nice and soft. But grab a hold of it and then give it a twist. Usually, you can see the glue that's on the inside of that will start to just kind of come apart, but it's still sticking a bit on the inside, so I'm going to warm it back up. There we go. Now we've been able to get that piece of plumbing out, and we're still able to save the fitting without warping it, and then we're just going to primer that. I might just end up cutting it back here, putting in a coupler and extending that pipe again. We're going to primer up our coupler, our pipe, both sides, this pipe in here, and then of course our manifold on the inside here. Glue is your friend. You can't really overdo it with glue. Any excess glue will just drip out, which is just fine. I'd rather have too much glue dripping out than not enough glue, and it's not a very good fit. So I'm both gluing up my coupler and the hose plumbing line in there, and as I stick it on I'm going to twist it, and then once it's on all the way I'm going to sit here and hold it for just a second. Should only take about 30 seconds to a minute for that to set up good enough. Again, glue our coupler in here, and then our piece of pipe. Push and twist, and then hold. Plumbing line, manifold. Now it's hard to get a twist on that, so I just make sure I have plenty of glue in there. Shove it in and hold it, because again, that's going to want to push back out again. What we want to do is allow the glue to fully set up before we try to put water back in there. Because if it doesn't set up and you try to put water back in, then it's going to compromise the glue joint. And of course, if you try to turn on the jets and then spray water out of there, it's not going to work. So the colder it is, the longer you want to let it set up. But we'll give this 15-20 minutes to set up, and then we'll start putting water back into it and we can test it. While that glue joint is setting up, I wanted to show you guys the other way of doing it using the fitting saver. I just grabbed a random piece of plumbing here and I glued a 3/4 inch plumbing line into it. It's nice and tight in there. And the way that you would use this is when you go to cut your line, you'd actually try and cut it as close to the fitting as you can. You would then take your screw gun, and on this one I set it to the highest torque value for drilling. Stick it in there. You'd have to do it a little bit at a time. Can also help if you maybe lube up the tip of that. Okay, so I grabbed this super lube and I'm going to put that on the very tip of my fitting saver, and you can kind of smear that around, and then I'm going to smear some on the inside of my plumbing fitting here. Let's see if that'll make things turn a little smoother. Oh yeah, that helps quite a bit. We've almost got material out of there. You want to get obviously as much of the material out as you can. There we go. You can tell that broke loose. Now what I've seen is I've pushed that piece of plumbing right back up in there. So I'm going to see if I can grab a hold of it, pull it out, and now you can grab a new piece of plumbing and the fitting is still good, and you can glue it back in without having to cut all pieces out. Alright, so it's been sitting drying and I have filled the tub back up again. We're going to turn it on and check our glue joint. Okay, got the jet set on max high, and it looks like we are good to go. I don't see any leaking. We want to check all 3 glue joints, but we should be good. We'll let it sit for a couple of days and see if we have any other water dripping. That concludes that plumbing fix. Thanks for watching.
Thank you for watching another video at Leisure Time Inc. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe for future videos.